strategies to help you become more productive, profitable, create progress, and lead a ridiculously fulfilling life. Welcome to the Susan Sly Project with your host, the woman who wants you to succeed, Susan Sly.
So you have an online business and you're sitting there and you're going, how do I SEO this? What makes sense? Do I spend, $100,000 on an agency due to a branding package? Well, my guest today is the foremost expert. And in fact, it's not just me saying it. It's actually Entrepreneur Magazine says he's number one. Forbes says he's number one. And in fact, the Wall Street Journal called him the top influencer on the web. He helps companies like Amazon, NBC, GM, HP, Viacom, and others grow their revenue. He is the co-founder of Crazy Egg, Kissmetrics, Hello Bar. You've probably consumed his videos on YouTube, which is what I do while I'm working out in the morning. And he is not just an incredible entrepreneur, but he was also named by President Obama as one of the top 100 entrepreneurs under the age of 30. And so with that, Neil Patel, thank you for being on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right. Well, Neil, I know that we're going to go rapid fire today. And really the theme is if someone wanted to 7X their business this year, what they would do, especially if they were willing to work. So I want to jump right in. You created your first website at 16. That was almost 18 years ago. I had my first online business in 95. So you, I think, would have been 10 at the time. I read that you hired a marketing firm and it didn't really have the ROI you were seeking. And you decided that that was going to put you into the marketing space. Let me ask you this. Going back to those early days, what were some of the revelations you had, and why was it so important for you to really learn how to propel yourself with digital marketing?
Yeah, well, back then when I first started out, I didn't have a ton of money. I was picking up trash and cleaning restrooms at a theme park. So for me, digital marketing was the only cheap alternative. It wasn't as popular as it is now, but I couldn't afford TV, radio, flyers, required you to print money and send it out. So I had to just stick with digital marketing. And it wasn't even a revelation or anything. It was more so I didn't have any other options.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what were you marketing back then?
I was marketing a job board. I was trying to find a high-paying job online. Almost all of them required a college degree. Keep in mind, I was still in high school. So I decided to create a job board because I saw that Monster.com, as I was browsing their site, was doing hundreds of millions. I was like, man, if I make 1% of they make, I'll be a rich kid.
And how fast did that grow?
It didn't grow. So I paid a marketing firm. I got ripped off, didn't get any results. From being broke and frustrated, I had no choice but to learn marketing on my own. And from there, what ended up happening is got good at it, got traffic, and I was like, life is good now. And I didn't make any money. And the reason I didn't make any money is because I didn't accept any credit cards online. I didn't know how to. PayPal wasn't big back then.
I'm so happy we're going down this road because my daughter is currently dating a Gen Z influencer, and there's been this, social media has really changed the landscape, and there's this concept that all I need to do is just have 100,000 Instagram followers and I'm going to make money. And you just said something so key. If you don't really have a place, I mean, I think I've watched every video you've put out in the last 2 years, which speaks volumes just in terms of consumption. But if you don't really have a place to take that social media traffic, how are you truly going to monetize it in the long term? Could you talk about that?
Yeah, and it's not just that. Even if you have social media traffic, if it's not the right kind of traffic, you're not going to do well. And think of it this way. So if you have a ton of traffic and you're creating these funny videos and people are following you, like, what could you really monetize with? It's tough. you truly need something that is going to convert, audience that's going to convert. I'll never has as big of an audience as someone else, but my audience is marketing related, business related. So, all right, not too bad. But if I just had a random audience that, if I just had a random audience that wasn't related to anything that could monetize, I'm screwed. Like, you have all these people who are trying to build up their fame and celebrity status by just being funny and joking around or jumping over cars. That's cool, but how do you monetize that? And that's what people forget.
Yeah, that's tremendous wisdom right there. Like the thing that kills me is when someone says, well, I have 5,000 friends on Facebook. And I'm like, okay, great. That's wonderful that they love your kitten video or your kid's birthday, but how are you monetizing that? And that's one of the things. I think there's so many people, like even in the U economy, which I know, you focus with big brands, but I know there are a lot of people who follow you in the space. In the U economy, over a third of them are still working a day job, and then they have a side hustle. But they're paying people to tell them, oh, you only need to be on LinkedIn or you only need to be on Instagram. In your opinion, and I had lunch with Gary Vaynerchuk not that long ago, and he has a different opinion. But in your opinion, in 2019, what are the top social platforms people need to be on?
Sure, the top platforms that people need to be on, in my opinion, it depends on your audience. So if you're in B2B, LinkedIn is huge. If you're in B2C, I still believe Facebook is powerful, even though a lot of people hate it right now. Instagram is huge. And whether you're B2B or B2C, the network that I love that not too many people love is YouTube. You don't get as much traffic up front, but the long-term traffic is there, while you don't have that on Facebook, LinkedIn, or some of the other social sites.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that you said that. I've been saying for the last probably 6 months to our clients that YouTube and LinkedIn were going to be very prevalent in 2019 while Facebook was sorting some stuff out. And let me ask you this. You just said a lot of people hate Facebook right now. In your opinion, why is that?
Well, they're all concerned about privacy and fake news and political stuff and breach of data and all this kind of stuff. So that's the main reason they hate it. And it sucks, but you're still going to use Facebook whether you like it or not. Their stock's in the shitter compared to what it was a while ago, depending on when you listen to this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
But what's funny is the revenue is still strong.
Yeah, you cracked me up with that one because I trade options, right? So I like to make money whether the market's up, the market's down. And I've made money on Facebook, and I'm not going to give any stock advice, but people can come to their own conclusion right now. One of many things I admire about you, Neil, you hustle, you put amazing content out there, and you're not afraid to experiment. And one of your more famous experiments was purchasing an Instagram page that had 131,000 followers. And then you change the name and suddenly the followers start dropping. So first and foremost, a lot of people out there don't know you can purchase an existing page like a commodity or like selling a domain or something. So can you tell everyone about that experiment and how you actually turned it around and monetized it?
Yeah, it didn't work out well. I purchased the Instagram account. You're not supposed to, in theory. I now have a normal Instagram account with very little followers. We just started posting on it again. I think I'm only like at 6,000 or something. And you can just hit random people up and you can buy it. Again, you're not supposed to. I believe it breaks their terms of service or privacy policy, but people sell them all day long. And if the audience isn't related to you, you're not going to monetize it well and you're not going to do well. See, I had a ton of people. I paid a lot of people to promote it. And yeah, one can say I may have got business from it or indirectly it helped, but the economics weren't worth it. When I go and post on LinkedIn, a B2B social network, I won't get as many views or reach or some of the other social sites out there, but my sales team generates leads and customers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Absolutely. The 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 interesting thing with Instagram, it's like any of the social platforms. What a lot of people don't know is Instagram. Their initial raise was only 500,000, and then they were acquired by Facebook. And I predict, and I'll say it openly, the show is it.
They raised more than 500, no? Or you're just saying initial?
No, in the initial raise. Yeah, and it's interesting because what people don't they seem to forget is who is it owned by? It's owned by Facebook. So Facebook is crunching down on groups and things like that. And right now Instagram is great and the ad spend is cheaper, but at the end of the day, it's like looking at a kid. Sometimes you have to look at the parents. And so that's just my opinion for what it's worth. Let me ask you, traffic. Like, where do you feel is the best place for ad spend? We'll do two different examples. So in B2B, I know you mentioned LinkedIn, but where would you tell your B2B clients to be putting their ad dollars this year?
Google works really well. Facebook still works. LinkedIn's expensive. YouTube works. Those are the main avenues if you're talking about ad dollars. Podcast advertising works really well, assuming you pick the right podcast. If you pick the ones that you can easily advertise on, they're probably the wrong one.
Yeah, absolutely. And what about if let's say someone's new and they're more in the B2C space and they have a limited ad spend, what would you suggest?
I would test a few $100s on different social networks and just see what happens. And then the ones that work out, great. The ones that don't, that's fine as well. The ones that do work out, scale up. The ones that don't, if you don't get any to work out, or the ones that don't, you can go in there, test a few more dollars and try something else. See, with ads, there's no one trick solution where it's like, oh, I'm going to advertise and I'm going to do really well. It ends up being where it's really tough to make it work and you have to keep testing and tweaking. Most people don't realize that. I was talking to a gentleman who created a company called Trada. And Trada used to be a pay-per-click management company that was funded by Google, funny enough. And they were telling me how the average LTV month-wise for a customer on Google AdWords was around 7 months. And that's because most companies who start don't get it to work and they can't figure out how to. Now, keep in mind, Google's revenue keeps going up because this smaller portion of their customer base is what's spending the majority of the money, like the Amazons of the world or General Motors or whoever it may be.
Well, I want Google's revenue to go up because one of my clients, one of my companies rather, Google could be a good acquisition partner for us. So yay, Google, keep that revenue going. That's for the AI.
You don't have to worry about that anytime soon. Even during the last recession in 2008, they made more money annually.
Yeah, it's interesting to watch. And that's a question I have for you. May as well go there right now. Emerging trends. As I mentioned, I have a company and we do AI, which is super cool. There was like a while ago, VR was trending and then there was kind of a pullback on VR. You have been in this space and you see it, and I know you're a massive tech investor. What trends do you predict coming in the next, 2 to 5 years?
I think the big one that we're going to see is you're going to start seeing online and offline advertising merged into one. And you're going to start seeing the Googles of the world, or the Facebooks, or whoever dominate. Maybe there'll be a new player, but then Google probably or Facebook will acquire them. So think of it this way. There's now Alexa, fridges, ovens, all these kind of things are becoming smart. However you want to define that, whether it's voice, screens, all that kind of stuff. Eventually, you're going to start seeing things like your fridge saying, hey, you're out of milk. Have you tried almond milk? It tastes very similar, and there's a 50% off discount. Click here and we'll automatically order it. And that's what I think is going to happen with the advertising world, in which you're seeing online and offline really combined.
I love that. Yeah, and the AI component, right? Which is, I was just at NRF, the national, for the listeners, Neil obviously knows what it is, the National Retail Federation. And the CEO of Target was talking about that precise thing, and their revenues are the highest they've been in 10 years. And they're reimagining retail, and brands are reimagining consumer direct and what that looks like, and that convergence of all of it coming together. And with that company, my AI company, that's precisely what we do. So I love that you said that. Thank you. That was not just for the listeners, just so you know, I didn't tell Neil about that prior to the conversation. One of the fans, I let everyone know I was going to be interviewing you. He wanted to ask this question. Angie wanted to know content. You know, if someone is building an online business part-time, what would you suggest a content schedule look like for them?
Try to do once a week and stick with video over any other channel. Text still works, but there's over 1 billion blogs. There's, roughly one blog for every 7 people, which means Google has its prime pickings for content. And it's going to take that much longer, and it's that much harder to get traffic from content. So stick with video. Mm-hmm. It just goes viral. It's easier. Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, they all want it. If you upload it, they'll give you way more traffic than if you linked out to content.
And if someone has more time, would you say, I know Brendan Burchard, as an example, he will shoot videos, have them converted into podcasts, then he'll have the text converted to a blog. What are your feelings on taking one piece of content and redeploying it in a multitude of formats?
Yeah, why not? You can use a latest Solis, I'm probably getting her name wrong, but she has a content reusage framework. Mm-hmm. And it can always just help you use the same piece of content over and over again if you end up following it. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. People don't penalize for duplicate content. It can only help you get more awareness.
That's awesome. Let me ask you, so what are your favorite tools? Like if someone is they don't have an agency, most of the listeners are like, they're kind of cuspy entrepreneurs, let's put it that way. So they've started their side hustle, and they have to do a lot of things on their own right now because that's where their budget is. So what are some of your favorite tools for video editing? What do you suggest using for closed captioning, that kind of stuff?
Closed captioning, I use rev.com. They do transcripts, I think $1 a minute, or it's something really affordable. I could be off on the price, but it's super affordable. For video editing, I don't know because I don't edit my own videos, but my editor just uploads them into frame.io, mm-hmm. and I download them from there and then upload them to any of the channels I want. Mm-hmm. But yeah, with the video stuff, you could just bust out your phone, take a video, even if it's choppy, who cares, upload it, and you're better off than not doing anything. It doesn't have to be perfect.
Mm. I love that. I always say version done is better than version none, right? Like just totally do it. Agree. Just do it. Let's talk SEO. I mean, in my opinion, no one breaks down SEO like you do, explains it like you do. And SEO has changed. When it was 1995 and I owned this URL and it was called makingfitterbodies.com, and I was like a, celebrity health coach and stuff back in the day, like so OG. But anyway, so much has changed because, like you said, there's just so much content out there, and there are people who say SEO isn't important anymore. What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, it's very important. They say it's a $60+ billion industry. Google wouldn't make over $100 billion in revenue if it wasn't for paid ads, and people are searching for the same stuff. So if you rank organically, you can make a ton of money. We make millions and millions of dollars each year purely just because of SEO. Mm. Forget doing work for other people. I'm talking about just because of our own sites ranking so much.
Yeah. And so there you have it. So if you thought SEO was dead, no, it's not. You heard it from Neil. So I have a hypothetical question. So you and I have some people we know in common, and last year, I won't say who it is, was going to put together a challenge. Like you had to literally build an online business and monetize it in 24 hours, right? Like as if you had nothing, you'd have to start from scratch. So I wanted to ask you this question. So if you you're Neil Patel, but let's say you had no money and you had 1 week to create a very prosperous online business. What steps would you take?
Do I have my skill sets?
Yes, you're still you. Hmm.
I wouldn't create a business. I would go find someone who already has a business and monetize it better and get them more traffic and just take a cut.
That's a great answer. I love that.
Now,
That's
the hardest
awesome.
part of creating a business is creating a business. I prefer buying them. It's easier.
Yeah. Yeah, I like being an investor. It's much better. I totally agree.
I'm with you
So
on that.
so what about someone who owns a business? If they said, Neil, I'm gonna hustle this year, I'm gonna be coachable, I'm gonna do it all, and they wanted to 7x their business this year. And I know that's a massive number, but I'm talking about a small business owner, not someone who's already making billions. What advice would you give them?
Yeah, if you want to 7x your business, back out what you need to do by the end of the year to really hit 7x.
Hmm.
And you probably want to shoot even higher because there's always stuff that gets in the way. From there, break it down into what you need to do each month. From there, break it down what you need to do each day. From there, break it down what you need to do in each hour. I know that sounds ridiculous, but that'll help you create a daily checklist. And you can be like, okay, I could potentially hit 7x if I accomplished each of these things each day. And every day you may have a new checklist, but don't go to sleep until you accomplish it. And if you do that, there's a better chance that you'll hit the 7x.
That's great. And it's the years ago, while he was still alive, Jim Rohn, I did 3 speaking events with Jim, and including the last time he ever spoke live, Neil. He was such a phenomenal man. And he always used to say, don't start your day before you end your day. Don't start your month before you end your month. And it's just taking a look at, where do you want to be? Where are you choosing to be? And backing it out. I love that. One of our fans want to know, what does a day in the life of Neil Patel look like?
A lot of emails, a lot of phone calls, meetings. I blog on the weekend. Other than that, that's mainly it. Like, my day's just mainly meetings, phone calls, and emails.
What do you do for fun?
Watch TV, relax, not travel.
Are you watching anything in particular?
Not really in time now. It's more so I just need it as a background noise. But I watch like shows a lot. Yesterday caught up on Manifest. Today is Wednesday, so I'll watch SEAL Team. But yeah, it's just I'll do whatever I need more so the noise to work. But I don't really need TV or anything like that. Being like, I gotta watch this season or I gotta do that. I'm more so in love with my work and addicted to it.
Yeah, I'm the exact same way. I love both those shows. I also like The Blacklist.
Yeah.
Yeah. How many emails do you handle a day personally?
Not that many. It's in the hundreds. I don't know where in the hundreds, but probably a few hundred. I know we get over 1,000 emails a day to me. I just don't answer them all.
Hmm. Okay, let me ask you this, because I was at an event and Tony Shea was talking about how many emails he handles. So, do you have any specific personal rules for handling emails? Like, if, for instance, length of an email, like, or anything you can give the listeners to be like, oh, I could adopt that.
I don't. If someone emails me like 5 paragraphs, they're less likely to get a response. Like there's a lot of emails I'll just ignore. A lot of them, people ask me for money. They ask me for advice related to stuff that I don't know. Like they'll be like, I didn't get approved by Google AdSense. What should I do? And I'm like, I don't know. I've never used it. I have used AdSense, but it's been probably like 7, 8 years. So I'm not going to answer them with something that I don't know. But in general, we have it filtered out. So depending on where the email comes from, because it could be like a contact form or whatnot, we have drop downs, we have different channels, and it'll go to different people. So like we have different versions of my email address, so then that way I'm only seeing my personal inbox, and then the team sees the rest.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love tools like Drift and the interactive drift, so then it can filter out to the right people. And it does make it easier. I'm working on zeroing my inbox this year, and it's a process, but I'll stay tuned. I have two more questions for you. One of the fans wanted to know any tips for increasing open rates.
So if you want to increase open rates, I'm assuming they're talking about email.
Mm-hmm.
What I would do is scrub your list, and I know that's a cheat to increase your open rate because you're sending out less emails. But here's the real reason. So email providers like Gmail now look at how many emails are you sending out and who's opening it. So if I send out an email to you and you're known for not opening up emails, that's fine. But if I send out an email to another person and they're known for opening up their emails and they don't open up your email because you sent it to them and they just keep ignoring it, eventually Google will start putting your emails in a spam box. So by only sending out emails to people who are opening it, not only will it increase your open rate right then and there, but that's kind of fudging the numbers because in theory you'll still get the same amount of opens, but more so in the long run, it helps improve deliverability. So then that way, as you start sending your emails to more people, you'll notice that you'll stay in the inbox tab instead of the others tab or promotions tab or even the spam box.
That's awesome. One thing I'm super proud of, for my digital marketing agency, we have a different avatar. It's that new entrepreneur. So we're Infusionsoft certified partners. They just changed their name to Keep, which is a whole other story. Anyway,
I don't know why
this.
they would do that. Everyone only knows them from Infusionsoft.
I was with Scott and Clayt last week, and the funny thing about the name Keep, I don't even know. I'll say it on my show because I kind of say whatever I want. But so before we knew about the name, but we couldn't say anything because of NDAs. But one of the other partners looked it up in the Urban Dictionary, and it has a whole different meaning. So if you want to be entertained, you can look it up. But the whole premise is it's like keep going, keep charging, keep building your business, and so on. So they're doing a rebrand, and they have a new iteration coming out of it, which is phenomenal. But it's going to make it even easier with regard to what Neil is talking about, just looking at the open rates, who's tagged as open, and contemplating a big list clean, which can be painful if your list is thousands and thousands of people. But at the same point, my best advice is I look at how much money am I making per person on my list? And I have a list that's the quality list, and I know how to monetize it. So that would be my thing, I'd say. All right. Well, Neil, we're at the point in the show, and thank you so much again for being here. It's awesome, where we get to play truth or truth. So as I mentioned to you before, like Jesse Itzler, we played the game. Dave Williams, who's a great friend of mine, he's on Fox all the time as a negotiator. He sang Louis Armstrong last time. So this is where Neil can ask me any question. And I can ask him any question that's not related to SEO, digital marketing, or anything. So, Neil, you're up. You can ask me anything.
So why do you have a podcast?
That's a great question. So a long time ago, back in the late 90s, I was on radio and I loved it. I loved being on radio. I loved that I could serve people. I was on Sunday mornings, and it was a show very focused on health. It really, it was just such a great format, and people would come up to me and say, "Oh my gosh, I know your voice. I know. And thank you so much for helping me." And so I started the show really as a way to serve that newer entrepreneur and to bring them wisdom on, and to bring on guests that could help them just in terms of you're grinding it out and you're kind of at this precipice. Am I going to stay in business, or is it easy just to stay a teacher or a CPA or whatever? And to give them not just inspiration, but to give them the tools to be able to go and do things themselves until they can make enough money to begin to hire people. So that's why I started it.
Cool.
Yeah. My question for you is, outside of business, let's imagine it's the end of the year and you're looking back what is something you'd like to accomplish this year that would light your soul on fire?
So I don't know if it'll light my soul on fire, but my main goal this year is, so I have this free SEO tool. It's called Uber Suggests. And I'm at 48,000 active users per month. My goal by the end of the year is to get it to 1 million. And it's funny, like I lose money on the tool. I lose like around, in January, as we're recording this podcast, I'm losing around 193 grand this month on it. And I don't really care to make money or anything like that. It would just be fun to crush my competition just for shits and giggles.
Okay. Well, I love to serve. I am speaking at the Infusionsoft Partner Conference next week. I commit. I did look at the tool. I did. I'm going to go in there and let me see what I can do to help you achieve that goal. So, okay, a couple things. We want to increase Neil's Instagram followers. What's your Instagram handle?
Neil Patel.
So, okay, so the real Neil Patel and all of those are actually fake Neil Patels. It's Neil Patel. So
yeah, Neilpatel.
You want to follow Neil on his Instagram channel. You want to use Uber Suggest and get the numbers up. So we're going to help you achieve that goal. And so, Neil, thanks again for being here. You're awesome. And genuinely, I just want to say to you in front of everyone listening, thank you for all of the incredible free content you put out on YouTube. It's incredible content. And I know you definitely hustle and you seem to do it all with grace and ease. So thank you just for being you.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. All right, everyone. So if this show has helped you in any way, we would love to have Neil and I a 5-star rating on iTunes and love to share it on your own social media platforms. If you have an idea for a show or a guest, go to susansly.com. We have a chat bot on there. You can just submit it through there. And with that, go out and rock your day, and I'll see you next time.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another epic episode of the Susan Sly Project. For more tips, strategies, and ideas, visit www.susansly.com.